Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm just going to give it a minute to let people come in. Thanks for joining us. As my colleague Samira has just posted in the chat there, please do introduce yourselves. Take a minute just to say hello, who you are. Feel free to share a random fact about yourself or your day if you like. It's fine. And we'll get started in a moment or two. Nice to see a few people with your cameras left on. It reminds me that there are actually real people on the other side of this Zoom, and I'm not just talking to myself in an empty room. Great. Well, looks like most people have made their way in now, so we will make a start. Um, Great. Okay, lovely. Hello, everyone. Welcome again. For anyone that came in late, please do introduce yourself in the chat. Lovely to know who's here. My name's Megan. I'm working the marketing and communications team at the Audience Agency. For visual description purposes, I'm a white woman with sort of shoulder length dark brown hair, wearing a green and white stripy top today, which I, just looking down, have realised I've managed to not throw my lunch down, which is a significant achievement for me. It's really nice to see you. Thanks for giving up a bit of time on your Thursday afternoon. In the session today with me is also my colleagues Lucy and Samira, who are in our sales and support team. I'm not going to put them on the spot and ask them to introduce themselves, but they are here. So if you have any questions as we go through, please do drop them in the chat because they are brilliantly well qualified to answer pretty much anything you can throw at them. So please do pop your questions in the chat as we go through. We are recording this session, so there will be a recording shared afterwards. So if you do need to pop in and out, that's absolutely fine, not a problem, completely understand. We've got captions available as well. They're Zoom's automated captions, which you can switch on at the bottom of the screen here, and when we share the recording afterwards as well, that will be captioned. I think that's all my main housekeeping points that I needed to make. If there's anything I've forgotten, I will have to come back to it. So, move these on one. Okay, so today's session. This is a session about audience answers. We're making no assumptions in this session about your level of experience or familiarity with audience answers at all. We hope that if you're brand new to audience answers, that you'll get a kind of a decent enough overview to help you on your way and help you get started thinking about audience answers. If you've been using it for years and years and years and years, we hope you'll also be able to pick up something that is new. Fingers crossed, we'll consider that a challenge. But hopefully there will be something here for everyone. And also, it's worth saying as well that not all the tools that we're going to look at today are going to be relevant to everyone. This is a little bit of a one-size-fits-all session. But again, hopefully you'll find something that you can take away from this and explore a little bit more in depth. Some of the things we talk about, some of the tools, some of the services will be free. So hopefully there's that accessibility factor there for you, no matter your budget, your size, etc., etc. Some of them are paid for and we'll indicate those as we go through. Hopefully you'll be nice and open about any costs that are attached. So the agenda that we're going to run through is on the screen there for you. We'll just introduce ourselves as the Audience Agency. We'll talk about what Audience Answers is and also Audience Spectrum, because that's something that runs through everything that we do really as the Audience Agency. It's integral to all of those services. And then we'll get into the sort of practicalities of using audience answers to support your marketing campaigns. Now, this session is the second in what we hope is going to become a series of practical sessions about using audience answers. The scenario that we've set for today is around loyalty and return visitors and repeat booking. Now, that you might find some of these tools can be relevant for other scenarios as well. And we'd hope that by sort of doing a session like this, it might spark some thinking about, oh, I could also use it for that, and I could also use it for this. So that said, we will be doing more of these sessions with different scenarios. And if there's anything you'd like us to do and you get half through the session, I think we were just talking before we started this actually about what should we do for a next one. So if you do have ideas about scenarios, real world practical problems that you're finding that you think, oh, it'd be really great to just kind of talk through that in a session, let us know, because we'll do one of these again, no problem at all. So, very briefly to introduce us as the Audience Agency. You may have worked with us for years, this may be brand new, so we'll do a quick fly through this just to set the scene a little bit of who we are. We're a non-profit independent research and development agency for the cultural sector. We're all about sharing data and insight to help the sector fundamentally. So while we are data and numbers people, it's all with this idea that it's useful data and useful insight, not just numbers for numbers' sake. We have several strands to our work. One of them is that we look after an enormous evidence base of data about what's going on in the culture sector, and that is made up of huge amounts of data from ticket bookings that have been made over many, many years, and also audience surveys. We've been doing this for a very, very long time, so we've got a huge data set now, which allows us to really build up probably, you know, if not one of the most sophisticated pictures of UK cultural audiences right now, and to look at change and to look at all sorts of variables that are going on within the sector. So we can use that in lots of different ways. We use it to create tools like some of the ones we're going to talk about today. We use it to do big picture research. A lot of our research is publicly available for free online. And we use it to have, you know, at the very practical side of things, we're looking to, we sort of have two main strands of the way we work, I suppose, in that we can work with organisations on a bespoke consultancy basis. We can also provide lots of off-the-shelf data tools. And today we're going to be talking mainly about the off-the-shelf tools. But if you would like to take any of this further and have a conversation with any of our, frankly, amazing consultants who have tons and tons of expertise in audience development, in evaluation, in digital, we've got a team there who would be really happy to have that conversation with you and put together a more bespoke package of support for you. So that's us. We're based all over the country, in fact, internationally. We do, in fact, have some colleagues who are not in the UK, but we are all over the place, which means we have got that kind of spread of knowledge across the country. We're going to talk now a little bit about audience answers. It's it's an umbrella term, I suppose, to help us communicate a set of tools that we have developed over a number of years. It's all the ethos behind everything in Audience Answers. It's about helping you understand your current audiences, number one. Number two, it's about helping you identify potential new audiences, or also those underserved audiences. So the people in your community who you're perhaps not reaching right now, or perhaps looking for where the opportunities might be in your area, people that you're not currently engaging. And number three, which I think is the most important bit, and the bit which takes it beyond just data for the sake of some numbers and into actually useful territory, is that we hope that data helps you. Well, we're looking for ways that we can help you learn how best to reach those audiences, whether they be new audiences or your current audiences. So it'll make more sense as we go through and look at actual specific tools. And all the tools within Audience Answers, they're all available on different kind of either payment models or free. So some are completely free; they're just web-based. You can just access them and go and use them. Some of them are subscription-based. It's an annual subscription that you would pay to access a service, and some are one-off. You buy a report from us, and that's it, off the shelf, and that report is yours to take away and keep forever. So I'm going to just move away from sharing this now and show you quickly what Audience Answers look like. This might be familiar territory for some people, but I think it's worth a quick reminder for anyone that's not so familiar with this. Is that sharing okay? You can all see, lovely, thank you to the lovely people who nodded there. Great. So Audience Answers is a web-based set of tools and services. Essentially, you don't have to download any software or anything. It's just here on the internet for you. You log in, and then you come to a landing page like this. Now, just to clarify, you only need a login if you're using our ticketing insights services or our audience surveys. Now, the reason you need a login if you're using either of those is because that data is your data and we need to keep it secure and private just to you. We're not making this readily available to everyone. So if you have either of those services set up, you will need to log in to get into Audience Answers here. If you don't have those set up, there are still free things that you can find on this page as well. So it's worth having an explore, but you will be prompted to log in if you want to look at your own data in there fundamentally. So just do a really quick little tour of what's here. You've got your data section here. We'll come back to that in a sec. We've got a page here, which is all of our current offers and tools that we have available. There's lots of them there. I'm not going to talk through all of them. We'll pick out the ones that are relevant to this scenario that we're going to be discussing later. But you can find everything on this Our Solutions page. There's a sector evidence section, which is where we publish our latest research. You can see there's some new research gone up here that is around sales trends across the UK nations. If you want to go and have a look at those, feel free, it's all there for you. The command center is just some admin for your accounts, for you to set up new tools and new services. And then there's a resources section as well, where you'll find lots and lots of guides about how to get started, how to apply knowledge, how to apply tools. So that's the quickest of tours of what's in your dashboard. If you haven't had, go in and have a look, go and have a look sometime, have a little explore, see what's there. So that is Audience Answers in overview quickly. If I just flick back to my slides and move along one now, this should, there we go. There we go. So, Audience Answers, a set of tools and services. Running through Audience Answers is Audience Spectrum. I do think perhaps as a company, we've possibly slightly overused the word audience in our branding of our services. But anyway, that's another conversation. Audience Answers, Audience Spectrum. We'll keep those separate. We're doing well. Again, this may be familiar ground for many of you, but if it's not, just a quick refresher. Audience Spectrum is a segmentation tool, and it's been developed with all of that data that I mentioned before, all of this data that we're collecting around actual bookings and actual people who are engaging with arts and culture. And then we layer in lots and lots of data that we draw from the census and we draw from other sources. So what that allows us to do is to take every single UK household and assign it to one of 10 segments. And those segments are then a way for us to understand that household and those people in terms of their levels of cultural engagement, the sorts of things they like to do, perhaps a bit about their lifestyle and their life stage. Also helps us think about what the barriers to engagement might be for them, or the opportunities for engagement might be with them. So it's built on all this really sophisticated data, but at the end of the day, it's about getting to know people. So all of us will have an Audience Spectrum segment. You might want to guess what you think yours might be as as we go through. And it's a way of thinking about people that is underpinned with data. And it provides us with this common language for talking about audiences. Back when I used to work in a receiving venue, and I found that actually a lot of the time, a lot of the touring companies that were coming in would talk about the audiences for their shows in Audience Spectrum terms. And because I spoke Audience Spectrum as well, it meant we had this shared understanding almost instantly of what kind of audience we were talking about when we were saying this is the target group. So it's a very prevalent segmentation. It's very commonly used. It's very widely used, but it does have this very, very robust underpinning of data behind it. I think something that marks out Audience Spectrum from other segmentations is that it's actually based on what people actually do in terms of cultural engagement rather than what they say they do. So we're actually looking at actual bookings for things rather than just a big survey that's like, do you go to an art gallery every now and then? Oh, yes, I go to art galleries a lot. No, this is real hard data about actual people booking things rather than just saying they're interested in things. So that would be our claim for Audience Spectrum as a superior segmentation tool. But you know, you may hear other claims from other people, and that's fine about the system. So again, let me just do another little share of where you can find some resources for Audience Spectrum. And oh, wrong one. There we go. All neatly laid out before we started, and now I'm getting them all modelled up. Here we go. Right. So Audience Spectrum has its own website here, and hopefully one of my colleagues might drop this link into the chat, but just to point you to where some of the useful resources here are on Audience Spectrum. You've got some introduction here, and then you've got all the segments listed down the side here as well. I'm not going to go through them all. You can go and have a read of them, but let's just pick one for a starter. Let's pick our metric here. This is where you'll find a really detailed profile of that segment, who they are, what their attitudes are, where you're likely to find them in terms of what activities they like to do and what they like to engage with. Where you're likely to find them are they big city audiences? Are they more rural? Are they suburban? How they like to be communicated with. It's all there in kind of quite a lot of, you can click through and read a lot more there about those segments. They're not all going to be relevant to you, so pick the ones that you feel are most relevant to your organisation. Don't try to get to grips with them all, there's too many. But this is where you'll find that information. You'll also find what we call a motivation guide, which is a downloadable PDF. This document goes into a lot of detail about things like motivations, values, what those people are actually looking for when it comes to engaging with, you know, an arts and culture event. Are they motivated, for example, by the social side of things, or are they more motivated by an opportunity to learn or an opportunity to better themselves in some way? This was where you're kind of getting to that, and that is then going to start helping you communicate with that group in a way that really resonates with them, a way that actually lands and speaks to them in that way. You'll also find in here some ideas about the sorts of extras that those segments are motivated by. So you might have a show, but what are the other things that you could be offering them? Is it food and drink offers? Is it priority booking? What are those things that are going to really speak to those segments? And finally, you've got some stuff here around really practical tactics to engage them as well. So very useful little guide there, hopefully for you. One more thing to show you on this site is the map. Again, it's completely free. This is just a web-based tool that anyone can just use. And it's an overview of the audience spectrum breakdown of the population across the UK. We can do much more sophisticated mapping for you. So if you really want to look at a really specific area that you work in, we can do your own reports into the breakdown in your area. But this is just an overview. So I'm going to zoom in on my neck of the woods here in the northwest and just click on an area to show you. You can click on an area and you'll get this breakdown of the 10 segments, who is dominant in each of those, you know, what the kind of the proportion of the population that falls into each of those segments. So you can start to get a sense of, right, I'm based in the northwest. Dormitory dependables are really significant around here. It's starting to give me some clues about what's going on. However, metroculturals, not so much. Very lacking in metroculturals here. So it's not super detailed. You do need a sort of bespoke report to do that, but it's starting to give you that clue about what's going on there. Cool. Right. So let's leave this behind and let's go back to our slide. Here we go. Hopefully that's kind of set the scene a bit in terms of audience answers and audience spectrum. Audience spectrum runs through all of these audience answers tools. So I've done a lot of talking about these things, but it will make some of the terminology make sense and some of the tools make sense as we go through. So let's get down to brass tacks a little bit and think about this problem. This is, I suspect, why you're here, because you identified with this problem in some way. I have come up with this hypothetical scenario here. However, I know that as a recovering venue marketing manager, it's a scenario that I've definitely encountered out in the real world. So I hope this is kind of going to resonate a little bit with you and the world you're operating in. But this is the idea that we put an awful lot of energy and resource into selling our Christmas shows, our seasonal shows, and we get great audiences, great income. It's very important for subsidising activity the rest of the year. We get these great audiences, and then an awful lot of them never re-engage with us again, or if they do, it might be only at next Christmas. It's a one-off. And is there something we're missing here? Is there an opportunity with these people to bring them back, to get them re-engaged with us? Or, perhaps they are only ever going to come once, but let's give it a try. Let's see if there's an opportunity here to develop this as a potential audience for us. I think it's worth it because we all know that acquiring a new customer takes a lot more effort. I mean, this is obviously the first stat on there from Harvard Business Review is applicable across all sectors, all industries. But I think it rings true in the cultural sector that acquiring someone new is going to take you a lot more effort than getting someone to come back because they've already got that relationship and trust with you. Hopefully, they had a good time. And they want to come back and see you've kind of got over a lot of hurdles already. There's also some research that we as the audience agency did a number of years ago. It's common sense, but it's nice to see it backed up with data that people who are frequent and loyal bookers are much more likely to eventually progress into becoming donors for you. So they're on a journey with you, those frequent bookers, that hopefully does end in them becoming philanthropic donors for your organisation. So hopefully that makes a case for why we should be interested in these people. These people have come once. It's an experiment that may well be worth trying to see if that has sort of some opportunity for you. So this is the kind of the way, if it was me, I would approach trying to have a little go at this problem. We want to have some data behind everything that we're doing. We don't want it to be just throw everything out there and see what happens, see what sticks. Let's be a bit structured about it because at the end of the day, we've all got limited resources. We can't just do a massive, massive blanket marketing campaign. Maybe you can. Wonderful if you can. Great. But the reality is that most of us can't. We need to be targeted. We need to be thoughtful. We need to, put resource where it's likely to have the best return. So we're going to be looking at a 3-stage process of identifying which segments we want to target, defining the offer with that segment in mind. What are they most likely to engage with? And then really refining both the message and the tactics. This is basic step-by-step marketing, but it's really worth just thinking about it in that kind of structured way, just to keep us on the straight and narrow and not to get kind of pulled away and lose focus on what we're trying to do. So, step 1, we want to work out who our target audience is going to be. Now, you may well have a ticketing system that allows you to just build a list of all those first-time bookers. Great, if you do, brilliant. That's really useful. That's not at the moment telling you anything about who these people are. You might be able to, from your ticketing system, identify if they've been before. You might be able to identify where they live. You might be able to identify perhaps what other sorts of shows they've seen. Are they literally only coming to Christmas shows, or do they come to? There's lots of clues you can build up in there, but it's not really at the moment telling me anything about them as people. What is the motivator for them? What is the value that I can speak to if I'm communicating to them, and kind of really get them, hopefully, get them engaged and hook them in an effective way. So this is where our audience spectrum comes in useful, because it's giving you all that behavioural stuff as well. I'm gonna, again, hopefully stop sharing that. Okay, and now show you another first little tool, hopefully. So let me just get that one up. There we go. And share. Okay. has hopefully shared our first actual proper look at the tool here today. This is Audience Spectrum Genie. This is something fairly new we've developed, and it's completely free. So we're starting you off with something that's completely free here. It sits on, it's a an AI-based tool. We all have feelings about AI. Totally appreciate that. Just to set the scene for why we've developed this in the way we have, we're doing a kind of year of exploration of ethical use of AI in the cultural sector. Loads more stuff on our website if you want to read about that. This is one of the practical outcomes of this. What this has been built on, the data this Audience Spectrum Genie is drawing on is all the stuff we've just looked at in the Audience Spectrum site. It's those profiles and those motivation guides. And it's got very narrow boundaries of the information that it's allowed to pull. So if you're putting queries into this, it is pulling from that really robust, solid research and insight. It's not pulling from what someone might have written on the internet about Audience Spectrum 10 years ago. No, it's our stuff and stuff we have approved it to look at. So it's just worth mentioning. But going back to our scenario here, I've preloaded a chat. This is a bit like Blue Peter, isn't it? Here's one I made earlier. It does make it a lot easier. So we will work through, we'll look at this. So we've put in our problem here into Audience Spectrum Genie. We're a medium-sized theatre in the north of England. Every year we see this problem of people only booking once and not returning. And now I've asked, which audience spectrum segments are those infrequent bookers most likely to be? So if you haven't got the means to do much analysis in your book system, this could get you started thinking about it. So now it's starting to give me some clues, saying for a medium-sized theatre in a northern city, blah, 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 blah. It's suggesting that these are people who see theatre as an occasional treat. They're drawn to panto, family-friendly shows, and they prefer mainstream, familiar work. So far, so logical. Next, it's going to connect who those people are to actual specific segments. So it's now going to tell me that it thinks that most likely these people are dormitory dependables, and why. They view culture as an occasional treat. They're drawn to these mainstream products. They prefer the traditional. So give me some secondary segments to think about as well. Possibly they're going to be the trips and treats segment. Possibly they're also going to be frontline families. Oh, it's given me a fourth as well, suggesting maybe up our streets. So it's starting to narrow focus for me a little bit. If you don't have that fluency with Audience Spectrum, fine if you don't. If you haven't spent hours and hours reading the profiles and whatnot, this is going to shortcut that for you. This is going to help you get quite quickly to the 3 or 4 segments that you should be concentrating on. So even if you're a little bit AI resistant, which is fine, completely understand that, you can be very light touch and it can just help you narrow things down and get an initial sense check on things. Quite importantly here, it's telling me who not to focus on. It's not going to be metroculturals because they are already very engaged cultural audiences. They come back, they're not those once only. They're not going to be experienced because they're unlikely to be commuter line culture buffs. Starting to narrow down who we should focus on here. So that's all well and good. We've now got a few focus segments we could start to think about. All well and good, but how do you know if they are actually relevant for your organisation? You know, it might be that you see, dormitory dependables, but you might not have any dormitory dependables on your database at all. You might not have any. So you're not going to be able to do a marketing campaign reaching dormitory dependables because you just don't have them. So this is where a little sense check back at your own data is going to be really useful. Who is on your booker list and what profiles are they? So going back to Audience Answers, one of the main tools within Audience Answers is this Ticketing Insights dashboard. A lot of you who are here today have already got this set up. If you would like it set up for your organisation, get in touch with us. It's often free. There are 1 or 2 ticketing systems where we do have to make a small charge to onboard you as an organisation. But for most of the major ticketing systems, this is free of charge. And this is a link between your ticketing system and our Audience Answers system. and it's live and it's feeding in data as shows are passing. The data is then being funneled through to us. It's being processed, anonymized, and put into this dashboard. And what you have when you have a look in here is you have this overview dashboard. You need to log in for this. This is what I mentioned earlier, where this is secure data just for your organization. So you will need to, if you don't have it already, set yourself up with a login account so you can go in and have a look at it. But once that's set, you should be good to go. And in your overview dashboard, you're going to have lots and lots of metrics about overall sales, bookers, income, ticket yield. You're also going to have some comparisons and benchmarks to similar organisations. I'm not going to dwell on any of this. I just encourage you to go and have a look in and have an explore. Because actually, for our problem that we're trying to do here, we want to look at the segment. We want to look at the segment in your audience. So I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom. Here we go. This is a chart showing the breakdown of your bookers by audience spectrum segment. This is example data, by the way. It doesn't necessarily correspond to my scenario that I wrote at the beginning, where it looks like Dormitory Dependables were going to be our group, but go with me, bear with me here, pretend. This chart is based on a year's worth of data. So what it's not doing is focusing in on that Christmas show. If you want to do that, you can do that, but you will need to upgrade your Audience Answers ticketing dashboard here. The free dashboard here is just going to show you a year's worth of audiences. If you want to build a profile for just the people who came to your Christmas show, you'll need to upgrade to the next tier up, which is called the Essentials dashboard, which gives you a tool that allows you to custom build reports for particular shows. I'm not going to demo it because it won't be relevant to a lot of people here, but if you do want to do that, it's a really useful tool for really getting into the specifics of specific shows and the profile of people who come to particular shows. Good news, if you are in Scotland or Wales, you get that upgrade for free. You lucky, lucky people. You will already have this in place on your system. You will be able to build those custom reports for a particular show. Scotland and Wales get it because we have subsidy from the Scottish and Welsh government, so enjoy it. For those of you in England, sorry, it is a pay for upgrade. But this will help you to start to get a sense of what the profile of your audience is. So it breaks it down by audience spectrum segment, and it compares it. The shaded bar there is the population data. So you've got your bookers, the proportion of bookers in that segment in your booker data versus the population data. So this is when you can sense check and say, oh, right, so I'm getting this sense that my once only bookers are Dormitory Dependables. Do I actually have them on my database? Yes, would be the answer here, because you can see if we're talking about Dormitory Dependables, there's quite a large proportion of people coming to your shows already. So there's a good chance that if you reapproach those Dormitory Dependables, they're going to be the right people. They're going to be the right people to talk to. So would definitely recommend going and having a look at your ticketing dashboard if you have one of these set up. If you don't have one set up, let us know. We can set it up very readily, and we can get you started on looking at those. So my little tablet here with the notes on has decided to go to sleep. So bear with me. It's all going well, isn't it? Great. Okay. So we're starting to get a sense that it's Dormitory Dependables we want to approach. We're starting to get a sense that they might be the people. So how are we going to do that? How are we actually going to engage them? Again, going back to my slide here. We'll screen it. There we go. So what do these people want? Now, this is when you're going to need to go back to some of those motivation guides we looked at before. We'll go back to those profiles. And yes, you can go back to Jeannie as well. And we need to have a think. Right, they came to the Christmas show. What else are they going to enjoy? What are the other things that are going to appeal to them? There's no point inviting them back to something that's just not going to interest them. So I have hopefully got another preloaded Jeannie query here. There we go. Hopefully that has worked. So we carry on the chat that I was having before with Jeannie. You may be clever enough to figure this out for yourself, but I personally find Genie immensely helpful to narrow it down for me. If we want to target dormitory dependables with a campaign aimed at bringing them back in the spring and summer, what sorts of events would be most likely to appeal to them? Now it's starting to give me some clues and some ideas around their motivation. They're not arts enthusiasts. They're mainstream, they like traditional product. They attend when it feels special, it's recognisable, it's low risk, good value, shareable with friends and family. They do not attend for experimentation or artistic discovery. I think that's quite clearly saying someone that came to a Christmas show, let's not invite them back for a bit of contemporary dance. Probably not going to happen, not worth it. Sounds obvious, worth a refresher. So, big recognisable musicals. That could be a winner. Great. Tribute acts, pop music nights. Does it give me anything else? Social history and local heritage. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Dormitory dependables, they like the local connection. They like the feeling that they're contributing towards something local. Dance-based shows, that's an interesting one. I think it would need to be probably quite mainstream dance. Yeah, contemporary dance if framed as spectacle rather than conceptual. Quite important. And outdoor events, summer festival feel. So again, all of this may feel very logical and very commonsensical, but it's just worth kind of working it through as a process and really thinking it through and having it really clear in your head why these things are right for these people. So positioning matters more than the event for these people. Starting to give us some clues about how we're communicating with them. Starting to understand the sorts of language that we should be using. Language should emphasize enjoyment, togetherness, value, occasion, and tradition. It's also given me some suggestions of some quick conversion strategies. Early bird offers, you love Panto, you'll love this, etc., etc. Again, a lot of it feels quite instinctive and commonsensical, but there's just something about having it laid out there in a very data backed way that just gives you confidence that you're on the right track, really. So our final stage here. Okay. We're starting to get this idea of what they want, what sort of product might motivate them. Final thing we want to be doing is thinking about how we're refining that message for them. Does our copy and image work for them? Again, this is fairly elementary sort of marketing practice, but it's about going through that thought process and just that touch point each time. Does this work for this segment? Does this work for this person who is motivated in this way? So you're going to want to adjust the tone, the style, the key points, depending on who you're talking to and what their main motivators are. And you're getting those motivators from those guides, from those profiles, from talking to Genie potentially. You can put your copy into Genie as well, and it will give you some suggestions about whether it's appropriate for that segment or not. I mean, I don't know about you. I personally, the idea of getting Genie to write me my copy just feels icky. It doesn't feel right. But I have and I will continue to use it to sense check me. This is what I've written. Does this work for this segment? Can you refine this for me? Can you suggest improvements? That's a really good use of that tool, I would say. Writing it for you, I think we've all got understandable reservations about that. We don't want AI taking our jobs, thank you very much, and we can do it a lot better a lot of the time. So, it comes with all the usual cautions around using AI. So you can use it to get that kind of support as well there as well. And then a sort of final step, number 4, would be about targeting that message. So you know which segment you want to talk to. You've got your identified target group. You've written some beautiful copy and got some beautiful imagery. You've got the offer spot on, the right product. How do you actually get that targeted to them? Well, this is when we get into one of our paid for tools, but I think it's incredibly valuable. So I'm not going to go super hard sell on you here, but let's just say what it is and what it does, because if I was still working in a venue, I'd find this massively, massively useful. This is a tool called, which we call Audience Spectrum Licensing. I can't demo it because I don't have a box office system to show you, but hopefully we talk it through, you'll get the sense of it. Essentially what it does is it integrates Audience Spectrum into your own booking system. Some of you here today have already got this set up, so hopefully you're using it and making some good use of it. But it applies, and it's automatic, happens by magic through that API connection with your ticketing system. It applies an audience spectrum segment to every booker on your system for whom we have a valid postcode. So you could go into my booker record, Megan Tripp, you could see that I live in Manchester, you could see that my audience spectrum segment is a commuter land culture bus, for example. So then, of course, that opens up the possibility that you could build a mailing list based on segment. So to go back to our example of our Christmas booker, who we want to get back, we build our list of Christmas bookers. We then pull out just the dormitory dependables because we know they're the most likely to be to only attended once. And then we create that marketing campaign using that beautifully refined copy and image, and we send it to them and we track them. So it's a really, really useful tool for that segmentation of your campaigns. You don't need to, it sits separately from the Audience Answers dashboard. It's in your system and every record is tagged. You could also use it for reporting as well. So you could, again, if you wanted to, do some quite sophisticated post-event reporting on exactly which segments came to each event. You could potentially use it for developing people into donors. We've actually got an organisation at the moment who we're working with who are really testing and experimenting this, looking at a very targeted campaign using that tagging of customers where they're getting a fundraising initiative off the ground and targeting segments in very specific ways with the fundraising ask. So the potential of it, I think, is really huge. In the case of this example here, it would be about being able to pull out the sort of the perfect group of people who you know are first-time bookers and are the right segment. And then you could build a very precise, very targeted mailing list and then send that just to those people. So it's really powerful. If that's something you're interested in, get in touch with us. We'll send out links afterwards to where you can see the information about that. It works with lots of different ticketing systems. We can give you a quote for how much it would cost. Costs are all based on how many records you've got to tag. So hopefully it's accessible and approachable for different size organisations. And it's very easy to set up as well. It doesn't take long. So hopefully you can be up and running with that quite quickly. So I have kind of reached the end of these slides here. Hopefully we've been through a little bit of a journey there of how you can figure out who you might want to target and how you might want to target them, and then looking at how you can very practically get that out into the world. So it's just a starting point, just to get the thoughts firing a little bit. I would say go, and if you have that ticketing dashboard set up, go and have a look at it. Go and have an explore. Go and see what your data looks like. Go and see what your audience spectrum profile looks like. Go and have a play with Genie. Ask it some random questions. See what it comes back with. You might hate the answers it comes back with. And if so, fine, tell us. Tell us it's not working for you. We're still working on it. If you do want to take this steps further, come and have a chat with us. As I mentioned, we can always do bespoke work and work with you on a very targeted campaign, or give you some guidance around how you might want to implement some of this in your very specific circumstances. It's fine, we know everyone's different. And just stay in touch, really. I suppose we're always here to help. We very much look at this as a kind of a starting point, a jumping off point to conversation with you. We've got about 15 minutes left, which is good. Nice when the plan comes together. And I'm going to call on Samira and or Lucy if there's anything we want to pick up from the chat, which I think has been very active.
It has been very active. Sorry, I was like, can I reply before you call on me? I did manage to do so. Lots of queries about people's systems and whether or not we're compatible with them. So we've had a query about Humanitix, Ticketsolve and Digitix. So all a little bit different. With Humanitics, that's not an automated system that we work with, so we'd need to look at getting that into the platform manually. And I've provided a link to the request form in there. So if anybody else is on Humanitics or another system and want to get in touch, please do fill in that form and I can get back to you. Or just drop me an email at answers@theaudienceagency.org and I can figure that out for you or with you. And then with DigiTickets, that's slightly different in that we're looking to work with them and we're talking to them at the moment, but currently they don't provide the data in a way that we're able to work with. So we have to have a set of files that works very specifically, and they don't provide all of the data that we need. So at the minute, we can't import any data from DigiTickets, but we can always look to do some stuff outside of the platform with you to for the time being whilst we have those conversations, but there would be a charge for that kind of work. And then finally, Ticketsolve, sorry, is one of our automated systems, so we can absolutely work with them. It's very easy. Just send us over the form, filled in with all of the information that we need for that, and we can get on it, and that's fine.
Fabulous.
There you go.
Fabulous. Great. So lots of stuff around compatibility.
Yes.
Brilliant. So I'm just catching up on the chat here. Three candidates, all three.
Yes. I've just read that one from Leanne.
Yeah.
Megan, over to you.
I knew that was coming.
I know.
knew that was coming. I would. Generally, that's good practice and have a range of. Okay. I would say there's Leanne, and please feel free to chip in and speak as well if you want to. It's absolutely fine. I would say don't. Audience spectrum isn't like an exclusive segmentation. You don't have to just use that. In fact, I'd be very surprised if there were any organisations out there who were just using audience spectrum. I mean, people are thinking about their audiences in all sorts of different ways, and maybe perhaps in terms of location or age or, all sorts of other ways of segmenting audiences. So I think it's just about picking out what feels most relevant to you and if you're thinking about data, I guess it's always why do we need this data? How does it support our business plan and our bigger objectives? So if the segments from the other agency that you're using do align more clearly with your big organizational business objectives, fine, continue using them, absolutely. An audience spectrum profile might just give you a slightly different perspective on things, and a slightly different way of thinking about things.
Yeah. The other one that they could do is if you've got Wi-Fi, ask for postcode data on Wi-Fi entry.
Yeah.
So that you're getting that postcode data, so you're able to segment those audiences that way. That's a popular one.
Yeah. I think if it's about I presume I'm reading your query right there, Leanne, like you've got a lot of different visitor data and it's trying to make sense of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. We are speaking to Ben in the Scotland office about this as well. I just thought it'd
Okay.
be useful to speak to you as well, just see if you've got any other experience. Because I think at the moment that's our approach.
Yeah.
We've got this, so BVA, BDRC, now Ipsos do exit surveys for us. We've got those segments set over here. And then we've got our CRM and the postcodes on there, which we're working with Ben to set it all up. And thanks to that, it's Creative Scotland funding, so that's really good as well. So I think we're just going to try and see between the BVA BDRC segments and the audience spectrum segments, see if we can
make more sense.
Do they align a bit, even though, because sometimes they're kind of similar, they've just got different names a bit,
exactly.
So just see if we can see any similarities, and then just probably accept we've got different data sets, I think.
Absolutely. And if you did have historic data sets, we can always profile them for you as well, if that's
so we're doing that with Ben for our last 6 months of exit survey data. We're going to analyze it as well. We only keep it for 6 months, I think. So we are going to do that.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that sounds really sensible. And yeah, I think it just comes down to what data would best support your overall objectives, really, and try to keep it as simple as possible. Not always easy. But if you don't have, if it's not relevant to use audience spectrum in that way, then don't do it. Do your analysis in a different way, or do your thinking about your audiences in a different way. And again, we can help on a more sort of bespoke level if that's the right way to go about that. Yeah, it can. You do hear of organisations who use several segmentations quite successfully because they're perhaps using one for their internal conversations about audiences, and they're perhaps using another for thinking about their business plan, or they're sort of mixing and matching a little bit as for things more useful, and that's fine. We're never going to stop anyone from doing that.
Thanks, Megan.
No problem. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else wants to? Is there anything I've forgotten, Samira, Lucy? Anything I
No, you've
didn't
done a
get to?
great job.
Oh,
I did try and do a reaction, but I don't know if it worked or if you saw it, so we'll go with no. There we go. Lindsay did one. Oh,
Yay.
everyone's clapping you. That's lovely.
Oh, oh.
Virtual round of applause. No, I think mainly just questions around that kind of
Yeah,
information.
yeah. I think from my perspective, I'd be really, really interested to hear if you are using these tools in this way. You might have spotted we do have a case studies section on our website, and we're in the process of getting some more put together. If you are experimenting, trying something, do let us know, because we'd love to write it up, feature you as a case study. It's just all good knowledge to share. And again, we could base one of these sessions like this on your own experiences of a campaign that you've run, or a particular kind of strand of activity that you found this particularly useful for. It'd be great. We don't often hear from people what they're doing, and so sometimes we hear it anecdotally and much later. So if you want to kind of have a chat with us as you're developing some work and as you're developing some ideas, please do. We're always up for that. As I say, we are working with an organisation at the moment on they're doing a segmented campaign on fundraising. So when that develops, we will do a session like this talking about that and their experiences. So yeah, if you'd like to be part of that, you'd be very, very welcome. So yeah, let's still a bit of chat going on, or do we think that's kind of coming to? Yeah, great. Okay. What we will do in kind of conclusion is we will send you by email in the next few days. I will send you when I get myself organised to do it. We'll send you the recording of today's session. We'll send links to all the different tools that we mentioned today. So don't worry if you didn't catch any of them or you didn't note them. We'll send them to you. We'll send as well just a little bit of a written summary of that step-by-step process that you could follow as well. But please do tell us if that's not working for you or you're doing something different. Love to hear from you. As an immediate takeaway, do go and have a look at your own dashboard. If you've got one set up, go and have a log in and have a look at it. Go and have a look at the audience spectrum map. For example, go and have a look at the profiles. I can lose an entire afternoon on that map, but that's because I'm a bit of a nerd and probably need to get a life. But it's genuinely fascinating to see the kind of breakdown of who's in your area and what's going on around you. If you haven't got that ticketing dashboard set up yet, drop us a line and we'll get you started on that. If you don't do tickets at all, there are other ways we can profile your data as well. So it's not just about tickets. If you do just want to send us some postcodes that you've gathered from a survey or an event feedback form, we can profile those for you as well. So nothing is too prescriptive, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Have a chat with us. We can generally find a solution or a way of working with things. Brill, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for sticking with. And it's been really lovely to those of you who kept your cameras on. Honestly, it's so nice to actually see real faces and not feel like I'm talking to myself on my own in my living room. So thank you, I appreciate it. We will wrap up there and hopefully speak to you soon.